Good evening. It's Milford Finance Committee, September 30th, 2015. This is not a regular Finance Committee meeting. This is a meeting to go over the warrant. It'll be tonight and tomorrow night. We got the warrant early yesterday morning, so I have no set agenda. It's going to be a little haphazard, and hopefully we'll be able to manage and get through it with not a lot of problems. So I'm going to take things out of order if everybody can just follow along. First person, Chief Tui.
Minutes?
Oh, I don't have any minutes because Diana's not here. We'll pass minutes on till next time, till the October meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
We'll start with Chief Tui. We have a number of different items on the warrant, as people have read, I hope. There are items that were part of the 5-year capital plan, and then there are items that were not part of the 5-year capital plan. We'll do the 5-year capital plan items first, which should take minimum discussion, and we can listen to the report from the subcommittee, the capital subcommittee, and their recommendations. And the chief's car, the staff car, was on the 5-year plan. The only reason I asked the chief to come is because I think, and it's my opinion only, it's number 24. It's a new staff car for $48,000. And we over the years, we've gotten a new staff car every 3 years. We've handed down the staff cars to the deputy chief and to the inspector.
Correct.
But we're getting to a point, in my opinion, that $48,000 is a lot of money for a car. And when the chief wrote a little blurb about it, we average about 8,000 miles a year on these cars. So for me, the oldest car has 86,000 miles on it. It's 11 years old, and I would love to know what the maintenance costs are for a car that's got 86,000 miles on it. I mean, I have a car, and I think 86,000 miles is a car that has plenty of life left. So that's why I asked the chief to come and talk about it.
Potentially, it's hit or miss. Thus far, it hasn't been problematic. You know, it's still in its original transmission. The engine's still good, but we tend to rotate them through. It'll be 12 years old when a new one comes. Mm-hmm. And we rotate them through. That way we have a reliable vehicle at all times. I mean, could we possibly stretch it out? I could buy another year, but then I'll be back here next year, in addition to a ladder truck, in addition to the other things that are on that plan. You know, I put it on here because this is the schedule we've been on. And maybe at some point we'll look to change the posture out to 4 years. I mean, it'll be 12 years old. The 16s are out. It's 12 years old. It has 86,000 miles on it, but it's different in comparison to yours. Yours has highway miles. This is around town, stop and go miles, hard miles.
And like I said, the reason I asked the chief to come is so we could open a discussion about what we ought to be doing in the future for criteria for new cars, new trucks, new vehicles in general. I think that discussion should happen going forward. I would love to hear comments from the team here and see what they think.
Mr. Chairman? Thought about, sorry.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Have you thought about leasing some of these vehicles?
I don't.
We've never looked into leasing.
Never looked into leasing them. Probably not a bad idea at this point in time because of the cost of these things.
Seems to be a big thing now is leasing vehicles.
Yeah, the actual cost on this truck is $3,000 more than the truck that was purchased in 2012. I call it a truck, an SUV. That came in at 40. That one, the last one was 40. This one's 43. But we're purchasing a new radio because the radio that's in the car we're decommissioning is 16 years old. So it's time to upgrade to get a digital radio, you know, something more modern. Unfortunately, the price tag on that is roughly $5,000.
So the string's not long enough is what you're saying.
True.
Mike was next.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the subcommittee met with the fire and the police a few weeks back, and we went over the capital needs. So characterizing, it's not a staff car, it's a command vehicle, so it has to be outfitted that way. We looked at what he had on his capital plan, keeping the command vehicle rotation at the current 3-year period seemed right. As the chief mentioned, he uses it around town. It's not just a leisure vehicle. It works for the town. And if you want to change how we're doing these vehicles going forward, I agree with you. We should look at them long term. But this is on the article, and this is part of what we had agreed to and reviewed. So I think that we should go forward with the current rotation and replace this vehicle, 86,000 miles, and the years that it has on it, and then maybe look at changing it as we plan for next year. That was a report from the committee.
And I don't disagree with that, Michael. I brought it up because I think we need to have, or start that discussion, and this, I think, would be a good time to start that discussion. And that's the only reason, Chief. It wasn't to say, I don't think we should go forward with this vehicle. I just think we need to take an overall better look at how we manage vehicles and deal with that. Good. Albert.
I like the idea where the chief is saying, maybe I could go a year, but then I'll be back. I would say, when we do the next cycle, I'd be comfortable proposing that we put away the money, tuck it away, and then try a year. We can put it into the long-term or the short-term, whatever we call it, capital, earmarked for a staff car. And then you go the year, and if 4 or 5 months into the year you say, I got a real problem, we have the money allocated, tucked away. That would make me feel better, that the first time we try this experiment of expanding a year, tuck the money away. Then next year, if you came back and said, hey guys, it didn't work, now it's costing me $5,000 worth of maintenance, instead of having to spend the 5 because we didn't tuck the money away, then we turn around and work the article so that if something happens, we can buy the car right away.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're trying to say. What I'd rather try to do is the capital subcommittee should take this on as an investigation and maybe go out and talk to people that have these kinds of vehicles and get some feedback from other people, professionals that do this all the time.
Mark, I'm
And then-
agreeing with you, but
so
I'm just
I don't think
saying-
we should change what we're doing now, is what I'm saying.
Let this go.
Right.
But the next time, if we decide we wanna test a year, let's tuck the money away anyway,
Yeah, we'll get to that.
and then we'll see.
All right.
But that makes me feel better that if you got in trouble in the middle of the year, we could cover it and not go sink thousands of dollars into an old car. That's all.
My only concern on this particular situation is the vehicle is 12 years old, and I start to get a little concerned and a little uncomfortable with somebody running around with emergency lights and flashers responding to emergency situations with a vehicle that's 12 years old, because there are some things that are not predictable. And then on the other hand, there have been so many vast improvements in technology in 12 years that you're not taking advantage of, so as far as braking systems, electronics, fuel systems. We just need to, 12 years old is a long time, and I really don't want to see a brake line that someone missed in an inspection that rusted through at the wrong time. So I would propose, I would move favorable on this article. Keeping in mind, this is not just the truck, this is a radio system too. It's $43,000 for the truck,
Correct.
which is not exorbitant for these kind of vehicles. But now you just added another dimension to it. You gotta put a new radio system on top of it. So you can't take an old radio and hook it up to a new electrical system in some of these vehicles. The man from Mr. Imperial will tell you that, right, Mike?
But my understanding about the radio system is that we're getting rid of the middle car is being dropped down one,
Okay,
right?
Correct.
The chief's car is being dropped down to the middle car. The new car will have the new radio, not the one that's on the third level, okay?
okay,
The 12-year-old one gets surplus.
Yes.
okay.
So my point is that we're not updating a 12-year-old radio, we're updating a 3-year-old radio.
Okay.
Okay?
So,
We just need to understand
it's
what's
still got a
going
new
on.
radio in this proposal, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I'd move favorable on the
Well,
request.
I have one more,
Okay.
If he gets a second,
I'll second.
all right, go ahead.
just one quick question, Chief. is this a stock item that you could pick up?
The,
If the vehicle collapses tomorrow, are you able to pick up a telephone and get a vehicle in a week?
no.
What's the timeline?
The timeline they gave me on this when I requested the estimate to submit the proposal was 3 months.
3 months, okay.
3 months backlog on the truck.
All right, so Al's suggestion is a good suggestion. However, we would have to spend whatever money there is to repair the vehicle for the next 3 months. So I think it's an investment that we need to expend a dollar for right now.
All right, one more time, Chief. The vehicle that you're replacing is a 12-year-old vehicle used by the fire inspector.
Correct.
Okay, is that do they normally use that vehicle to go out on fires and other things? Or that was just your car and the deputy chief's car?
He's in the vehicle during the daylight
During
hours.
the day, right.
Yeah, in town, doing inspections, and he responds to emergencies as they come up.
Okay. So what specifically does the vehicle require to be a command vehicle other than being painted red and having lights on it?
They
And I'm
can-
not being facetious, I just.
Yeah, no, the command vehicle aspect of it is the storage area in the back. Myself and Deputy Nelson, we carry SCBA's, accountability boards, all of the command vests, any of the equipment necessary, a lot of paperwork for running a fire. The inspector, not so much, his truck is reduced, still has the cargo area, but he carries all his equipment that he needs for his inspections, as well as his turnout gear and things like that. They put on a little bit less mileage. They tend to put on more mileage when I have it, because I'm out of town, where the inspector isn't. Once it hits the third tier, it doesn't.
Right, but there's electronics involved. You have a radio, a two-way radio, do you
Yeah,
have a
we have-
computer in your car? I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
all of those things. Okay, and so that's 12 years old as well. All of the equipment in that car is 12 years old, regardless of what it is.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Move.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Thanks, Chief, appreciate it. And I think you guys should take that on as a
For the
long
next
term,
cycle,
for the
I
next
think
cycle.
As I say, I don't wanna change anything for this
No,
cycle.
I don't either. I
But
just
for the
wanted,
next
I just
cycle,
wanted
we'll
information.
take it on and see what's the
Yeah,
most
absolutely.
economical, but also the safest.
Right. Thank you,
Very
Chief.
good.
Mark,
Appreciate it.
48,000 is the number?
What was the final number? 48.
48,000.
Yeah.
48.
Thank you.
All right.
Just one follow-up, Mr. Chairman, the chief did take off the other items that we had originally planned for the capital.
Oh, I know he did. I don't know why, though. I mean, I know the phone system was one of his priorities.
Just wanna do a crunch that we,
No, actually, the question that came up is how are we gonna deal with the phone system as part of the overall IT? And it seemed more prudent to wait till we have a plan.
Okay.
Otherwise, we could go out. No, it's on for next year. We just put it off. But the
Okay.
idea was, let's not rush into buying a phone system that could be an island and not connect to everything else.
Not a problem.
And the chief said it wasn't critical for this year.
Exactly.
So it wasn't a crunch at all, because that was in our plan from the beginning. It just, when it came up with a technical question, it seemed more prudent to wait a year.
Okay. All right, so we have a number of different things that we can manage here. What I think we should do is, the selectmen have a number of articles on. Jerry has three articles on. And there's an assessor's item on, which is Article number 1, which Rick can talk to. So I think we should go there first. So let's start with Article number 1. See if town vote to accept, and I don't understand any of this, real and personal estate belonging to or held in trust for the benefit of incorporated, blah, blah, blah. So, and by the way, the warrant is supposed to be $700,000, not $700.
What?
There's a
Article
typo.
one,
Article.
it to the extent of $700,000, not $700. My first thought was all the veterans in town would get a $700 exemption, which would be fine with me. But, so I asked Rick to find out what the budget impact was going to be, and he came back and said, well, that's not really the issue, so.
Correct.
I did speak with the assessor. Good evening, by the way. Basically, the current statute that's in place to exempt the property tax of veterans organizations was adopted in 1986. Exempted property up to $400,000. We have one such organization in town. Obviously, property values, as you can attest to, have increased. That limit is no longer sufficient to offer the full exemption. So this article seeks to raise the exemption to $700,000. Again, we have one organization in town. That organization has 2 parcels, which total around $618,000. Property has been exempt. It has not had any taxes assessed. They would continue to be exempt if we adopted this statute. Tax revenues are not decreased. They're not included in the levy. So basically, that's what this article seeks to do. Raise the limit from $400,000 to $700,000. And it's veterans organizations, not individual veterans.
Right. So if we didn't do it, then they would pay taxes on $300,000
On the
difference.
Correct, whatever that difference it may be.
Yeah, and it seems like the spirit of the law was to exempt particular veterans organizations. And if that was the spirit of the law, irrespective of the valuation, I think we should continue with that spirit. And if the spirit said, hey, we want to exempt them, then we should exempt them and be aware that we have to raise the limit.
Is that a motion?
We've done
Yeah,
this
I
for the
move.
Italian vets for years, because they came in and said they can't afford to stay alive
That is correct.
if they pay the taxes. So this is a long tradition that we've exempted them, right?
You have to raise your hand and you recognize.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, I recognize
Oh,
that.
you pointed, I thought you
Yeah.
did, sorry.
Move.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's a zero loss for the town. We've already exempted this anyway. We're just continuing the exemption, and for no better reason for the veterans. I mean, to me, this is one of those no-brainers. You're just extending this along. There's a motion, I'll second it.
I'll make a
Yeah,
motion.
I'll move.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Thank you. All right. This is so complicated.
So confused.
No, it's difficult. Stay there, Ricky. Please.
Yep.
All right, Article 14, repairs to animal control building.
Making too damn much noise.
Article 14.
Yes, I believe that this is on the capital plan.
Right.
This is a building that, in my short time here, I don't think we have paid a great deal of attention to. It definitely needs a new roof, it needs a vinyl floor, needs to repair the back door. So I think it's time to put some money into this building to improve the conditions there. We're looking at, for this,
$12,000.
about 12. I'm hoping it'll come in a little less than that, but yes.
How old's the building?
Uh,
Not that old.
It's, yeah, I think it's 15 maybe, somewhere in there, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not,
It has, yeah. Silent Street.
All right, well,
Where's the building?
Where's the building, the Silent Street, way up there on the,
Fisk Mill
it's
Road.
on one, right off of 140, on
Mill Road.
Fisk Mill,
Fisk Mill Road.
you're right, yeah. So again, it's just a
I
thing.
make a motion, we approve it. We don't need the $12,000 to fix the animal shelter.
Right, and the subcommittee, has vetted this as well. I guess we should just go through the subcommittee and see what these guys vetted.
Get a recommendation
Yeah,
and give a motion.
Second.
All in favor? All right, Albert, why don't you,
I have a question, the number is 12, correct?
Correct.
yes,
Because we
12,000.
estimated years ago 9, so we just have to change it on.
Yeah, I'm hoping it'll come in closer to the 9 than the 12, but I think it's gonna be somewhere in there,
We
yes.
just, I'm just.
Yes,
going
no,
through
you're
what we
correct.
had, where we had 9 in, because that's what you're hoping, but we're gonna propose 12, so just in case.
Yes.
Mark, I think you're fine if you just keep going through the way you are.
All right, well, I should,
Make it more efficient, you know, any way you
Yep.
wanna run it, we'll just comment as we go.
okay. Might as well stick with some, all the rest of yours. The rest of the selectmen's articles requiring funding have not been discussed on the long-term capital plan, so we'll go down and deal with them as we get to them. And I think item 21 waits till tomorrow night. Scott will be here for 21, which is
If
the
you could, I
hazard.
would appreciate that, yes.
And same with 22. So let's talk about Article 20.
About 15, no?
Well, we'll get there. I'm going down a different list, team.
Why?
Yeah. See if town will vote to raise and appropriate transfer Board of Selectmen for purpose of retrofitting 90 downtown decorative lights to LED lights. Cost is $30,000.
These are the 90 downtown decorative LED lights. We just became aware of a program. I think you did this several years ago, but this program just became available. That's why it's not on the list. John Erickson and Carlos Benjamin went through. This is a program where we would retrofit all of the 90 downtown area lights. The cost, as you said, is approximately $30,000. We would recoup that cost in about 1.3 years. The annual savings on today's national grid rates, electric rates, is about $20,000. So to me, this seemed like an opportunity to take advantage. I know there is an outlay up front, but the annual savings and the quick recoupment of the cost, and also you have a maintenance factor where maintenance would be estimated at much less than what we're doing now. So to me, it seemed like a win-win situation. Again, I know it's not on the list, but it just became aware. We became aware of it.
Mr. Administrator. Oh, I'm sorry. Whoa.
Feel free, I yield the floor.
Thank you.
To the old man.
But aren't there any programs, like, since we're going to be saving a good amount of energy, are there no programs from National Grid that would offset, other than amortizing the costs?
This is a mass save program through National Grid. This is a program there.
So, all right, so the 30,000, what does the 30,000 represent? The work and the LEDs?
Correct. That's the
So what are we
total-
getting
That's the
by,
total cost.
what is the state telling, what are they gonna give us?
Typical-
What I'm looking, let me get to
Yeah,
it,
the
right
tip-
to the bottom line. Can we get them to pay for it?
No.
Oh, okay.
The total cost, the project cost would be about 35.6. The utility incentive is about 9,000. Takes you down to about 27. Yeah, $27,000, yeah.
I agree with you, Mr. Lonnie. I mean,
Just seemed to
as
be a-
one of my esteemed colleagues stated, it's a no-brainer. My question is, who is responsible for changing these lights when they burn out?
Right now, we do those, yeah.
We- who?
We being the maintenance staff here, Carlos,
Oh, he
with
does.
the help of the
How
fire
does he
chief.
get up there?
Help with the fire chief with the ladder truck at times. And
Okay, is that gonna change?
that will not change, but we should have less, much less
Understood.
need for him to do this work. I would hope. I would hope.
I move favorable on Article 20, Mr. Chairman.
Don't move yet.
Quick question, Rick.
Yeah.
Can we do any more? I mean, this is a great program, and you're gonna pay this back in 1.3 years.
I-
Can we do more than the 60? Are there any other possibilities?
90. I
So
am looking into the streetlights, but that's a much more involved
certainly.
What
program.
streetlights? The regular streetlights?
Regular streetlights. The National Grid has a program there, but that's a ways away.
Al?
I'm confused, Rick.
Yeah.
You say there's a new program that gives us an incentive,
Correct.
but we pay for it all.
Oh, I know, the typical cost would be about $36,000. The
So
utility
we're saving
incentive,
20%.
9,000, yes, that's correct.
Okay, that's what I just want to
25%.
understand
About
because.
25%, correct,
Okay.
correct.
How long do the lights last?
I don't know, but.
$350 a light, how long do they last?
Let's see if we-
LEDs last a long time, a long time.
I don't know, off
Really?
the top of my head.
Guys believe that? Don't believe it.
Well,
I have I mean, it's a personal issue, I guess. I mean, I had Mass Save come and do my house with LEDs, and 75% of them failed within 3 months. So I had to put my regular bulbs back in. Okay.
again,
Rick, did we miss the boat on this? Was there more of an incentive with this? I mean, LEDs in the streetlights have been around.
not that I'm aware of, not in the last couple of
I've
years.
seen them for 10 years in other towns, and like, now we're just, are we behind, are we missing it? And this is, kind of falls up to what Chris said. Can we do so we don't, if it's a 20% incentive now, is that gonna go away? Are we gonna miss the boat on that in another year?
Not that I'm aware of. We are doing a program now for the interior lights in a number of the buildings here, which is a zero cost to us. That's something different than this. So we're trying to take advantage of this if and when we can. I'm sorry.
To Mark's point,
Yeah.
is there any warranty as far as, are these bulbs guaranteed to last X amount of years?
No, there is a,
Make the money back in 1 year.
I'd have to get more information. I don't see that here. There's a 1-year manufacturer warranty on workmanship. There is a manufacturer's warranty on the fixture. I believe that would be the extent of it.
Okay. What is the yearly utility cost for these lights?
Right now, our annual lighting cost is approximately $23,000 with the existing system. The cost for the new system would be about $2,333. There's your $20,000 supposedly yearly annual savings.
So about a 90% reduction in utility?
Just, yeah, 89.86%, 90%. That just seemed appropriate this time.
Mr. Chairman?
No, there's no question, they work really well.
I move favorable.
Hold that.
No.
We're done.
Any other discussion?
Considering that at any given time, at least a dozen of the lights have burned out if you drive through town, I would say
We get a lot of calls.
opportunity to replace all of them and
Work
start
for
from
me.
scratch.
Mark,
I'm good.
your comment on, are we signing up for lights that'll burn out? I would say before we do this program, before we go and do anything else, we're gonna have a year
Right.
of history on these LEDs.
Yeah, no,
So
absolutely.
I don't see a big risk if you're gonna investigate doing the rest of the streetlights to save lots of money.
Yeah, that's a much more involved
Right,
project.
what I'm saying is you're gonna have a year.
Sure.
Even if you jumped on it right now, by the time you come back to us and say, I wanna do 500 streetlights, we'll be a year in and we'll be able to ask you, of the 90 bulbs,
Are they working? Yeah.
if 60 have burnt out, we may wanna reconsider.
Just want to correct also one thing, we don't install them. There's a company that will install them.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Mixed up with another
Right.
program.
All in favor? Thank you. All right, Article 15. I love how I'm doing this. Article 15 is $15,000 expenditure for the interior railings at Town Hall, the ones up around the
You walk down.
second floor.
Yes, thank you. This is, again, it's not on the list. I've had a couple of employees, or a few employees that work in the area and that second floor come to me over a while, a couple of months maybe, or a month or so, indicating they have seen situations where small children can fit through those railings. When they were built to the code at that time. Obviously, the code has changed. They are grandfathered in. I wanted to see it for myself, to see if that was exactly the case, and I've seen it on a few occasions where I've actually gone out there and said to a parent, please watch your child, or brought the child over. A small child can fit through there, get onto the ledge, and so this is the reason it's not on the list, and the reason I'm bringing it forward now. For me, it's a safety concern, and I think it would be prudent on us to eliminate this safety issue, and that's why I'm here. Again, I know it was not on the list.
An opinion from the building commissioner? What's the building commissioner
Yes,
say?
the building commissioner, it is his recommendation the town replace this guardrail system with one that complies with current safety standards. That's, John, I'm basing this on John's recommendation also, and he is the one who looked into it further for me.
Move favorable, Mr. Chairman.
How much?
Which railings are we talking about?
15,000.
Right out here, right out here.
One's on the
The ones
second,
around the top.
second floor, around the
Outside the
top.
I'm
selectmen
not talking
office.
about the third floor balcony.
No.
The second floor
Outside the
balcony.
selectman office,
These guys,
tax
right here
collector,
in the courtyard.
assessor,
Yeah.
15,000.
town clerk. No.
15?
15,
$15,000 to replace it?
yes.
15,000 or $100,000 suit.
Yeah.
They're gonna replace, and then also they'll take away the existing.
You're gonna replace it, they're not gonna upgrade, you're gonna replace it.
Correct. Correct.
There's not an easier way of just doing this?
We looked into that.
Razor wire? I mean,
Plexiglass.
No. No, we felt that this would, and John researched this a little bit, because I said the same thing. Why can't we just cover the areas that are open? I think this would be the best way to do it aesthetically also, not that that's the primary concern. Yeah.
Will they replace it with something that's comparable to what we have there and also remove the historical,
Correct, yes, yeah, we're trying to, obviously, we have to deal with that issue too, yes.
I didn't hear the motion. Who made the motion?
I did.
You seconded it? Any other discussion? All in favor?
You know?
Going really well. Article 23.
This
Article
is,
23, see town vote to raise and appropriate, blah, blah, boiler and repair, remove fireplace, Birch Street School.
this is something that just happened in the last week or so. Unfortunately, the boiler at Purchase Street School, which we do lease to a daycare, is in severe need of repair. I'm told it's 45 years old, so it's obviously served us well. Another issue we have there, in fact, Highway was up there today looking at it, is the chimney. Is in need of repair, or maybe we're going to be able to remove it. I'm not sure which would be the better course. That is a situation that could become dangerous. So again, not on the capital plan, but just alerted to us last week.
The roof is part of this as well.
No, I don't have anything on the roof on this, no.
Okay.
No, just the boiler and the chimney. the repair.
$14,000,
I believe I have.
14K.
Yes.
That's the boiler and the chimney?
And the chimney, yeah.
Bob?
What does the town incur, or what does the town realize in terms of lease?
I believe the lease, Jerry, help me, $1,200 a month, I believe, something.
So 14,000 a year.
We did put it out to bid, there was only one bid. This has actually gone out to bid. It's the same tenant that's been there for some years now.
It's a town building. We obviously don't maintain that building, and we should.
We are now gonna put that one, we're gonna go through that building and see what if we need to do regarding putting it on the capital plan.
Well, would we look at it to say, do we even need it?
Abandon it.
Just sell it.
I brought that up. We should ask the tenant if they want to buy the building and put it on tax rolls,
Certainly will.
if the town's willing to give it up.
Investigate that, sure.
Right, just to clarify, we're gonna take the chimney down? Is
I-
that in this
I-
place? But I mean, what's the boiler vented into?
Well, right now it's that, but the new boiler system they're proposing, I think they're gonna vent outside the window.
sidewall.
So there may be a way that, I don't know why we would need a chimney, I don't know. But if we don't need the chimney, maybe it would be better to
stainless steel
take it down.
Yeah, they don't, they come
That's a
with
good question, we had that same question.
this big, yeah. But for 14
I
grand a
think
year,
you're onto
getting
something
rid of it.
that, more than say to the current tenant, do you wanna buy it? I think part of the study ought to be, is it in the town's best interest? To put the building up for bid, just plain and simple, because,
Yeah.
you know, if we're gonna spend 14 on a boiler, and then we got a chimney, and then we got a roof, and somehow, it almost seems like we should consider selling the building, goes back on the tax roll, and eliminates any exposure. I'm not saying it's the right idea, but I think, Rick, as part of the plan, it's not just to put it on the long-term capital, but to look at what's the best outcome for the town.
Does the town have any liability there?
Sure we was.
Limited.
It's not something I'd use a lot of. We have provisions in the lease that protect us from any significant liability. So, no, there'd be nothing extraordinary.
Child gets hurt, or?
Part of the reason historically we leased it, it's like probably our oldest school building, something on Birch Street that we have. So the theory of selectmen years ago was, let's try to preserve this building, and one way to preserve it is keep it useful as opposed to sitting there and rotting. So the goal has been to first to preserve the building for future generations. Selling it with deed restrictions could work too.
We used to have a school on Clapham Street, it's gone. We used to have a school on West Street, that's gone. Shape, all of the streets.
Sold one for $5,000, Oliver Street School.
5,000?
That much, huh?
I heard actually Al went to that school at Purchase Street. That's how,
Oliver Street was a good school.
I didn't say Oliver Street, I said Purchase Street. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second.
Motion favorable, 14,000?
Second.
All in favor?
Rick, with all due respect, make sure that we can pull that boiler out if at some point we abandon the building or it's taken down.
You could use it at the new school.
No, I don't think so.
I just want to clarify, that boiler was 14,000 or 23,000?
14,000.
14, that, and hopefully the chimney too.
Article 6. Article 6 is to fund the collective bargaining agreement with the police department. I have no number on that.
That number, what did you explain,
12.
tentatively, 82,000.
12, I think.
And the reason I explain this is something, as you know, we do periodically when we settle with police and fire in particular, we have to come to town meeting to fund it. This one's in a little bit of a funny position because the selectmen have been negotiating for a considerable period of time with this contract, haven't reached an agreement, we're close at one point. Now the Joint Labor Management Committee has come in and taken jurisdiction, and we're in mediation through the auspices of the Joint Labor Management Committee at this time. We hope for a settlement, but it may not happen. There happens to be, so we put this as a placeholder when we first opened the warrant. The next mediation session, hopefully the last, will be October 20th, which is just 6 days before town meeting. So there's not time to come to you to say, yes, we have a settlement, and these are its terms. But if it does settle on a 3-year contract, that number, which the 82,300 and change, would be the number that would be needed in this year's budget. So what I'd be asking you to do is give a favorable recommendation, but obviously if we don't settle, we'll be passing it over.
So Jerry, the idea would be we'll allocate the money, because if you settled in November, when would the
Well,
money be?
if we get to October 21st and we haven't settled, then on the 26th we'll pass this over. So we won't
I guess what I'm
allocate the
asking
money.
is, let's say in November.
Right, we settle
I'm
then,
not challenging, I'm just curious.
understand, yeah.
You settle in November.
well, wait for the annual town meeting. And
So they would have to wait till May to
They-
get this money?
that's
Or would we
correct.
be on the hook to pay it before?
we would have to wait until, no, they would have to wait, and we would all have to wait until the next available town meeting, which will
Okay.
presumably be the annual.
And the number would be significantly different.
Well, hopefully this number won't be different.
If you have to wait till May, it would be.
No, this is what the chief would be funding. This is the chief's number if we settle on the basis that we're talking about right now, which for that year we expect to fund this year. So that number will be exactly the same.
Yeah, they'd get it at a later date, that's all.
Yeah, that's all.
Question, Mr. Chairman?
Sir.
We're going to, what you're saying, though, is, we're gonna have to put a number on this, are we not, before the town meeting?
Just did. That was the number you just did.
82,000.
That was my point.
Exactly.
Having to put a number on it before. Now, are we going all in before we even have a settlement?
In theory, you'll be recommending that if there is a settlement, then you're recommending favorable on this number. Selectmen aren't gonna go forward unless there's a settlement. The settlement, though, likely will happen on the 21st or 22nd, because the 20th they meet, town meeting's the 26th. If we settle on the 20th, they have to ratify in a few days, so it literally happened a couple days before town meeting.
Could it be more than that?
For this year? No,
Yes.
no.
Can't be.
Why not?
You go to executive session, I can discuss it in more detail, but basically, the first year is, first year's gonna be what it's gonna be. We're negotiating sort of other things.
Any other?
Right, this makes sense, Mr. Chairman, because then after the settlement, then it gets rolled into their budget.
Next year, right. No, I
We've
understand.
done that all.
Mark,
Sir?
this is part of the strategy the FinCom has had for years and years about how we operate.
Yeah.
Move favorable for it, and
That's fine. I'm just looking for a motion.
move favorable.
Second over here. Any other discussion? All in favor? All right, while you're here, Jerry, you might as well cover the other 3 articles of yours.
Article 5 would be the other one.
Yep.
This is not a money item. It is, as it says, as you recall, a couple of years ago, the chief put together a very detailed, very comprehensive bylaw that put further restrictions upon where sex offenders, second and third level sex offenders could live in town, similar to what a lot of other communities did. There may be some 40 communities that have enacted a bylaw or an ordinance like ours. But for better or for worse, the Supreme Judicial Court in the case decided, it said August 28th, came down and said, no, can't do it. It's not constitutional under the Massachusetts Declaration of Rights, because the legislature, through their comprehensive enactments on registered sex offenders, preempted the field. So the land ordinance and very clearly all local ordinance and bylaws are unconstitutional. The chief and I agree we have to rescind it. He's already put out a general order that we're not going to enforce it, so let's get it off the books. That's what it comes down to.
We're favorable.
Isn't it
Yeah, refer to sponsor.
Is it refer to sponsor?
We can do that on a motion to
not a
rescind
mon-
something that we passed?
This
Not a
is,
money item.
it's not a money item.
It's not us.
We don't have
We
to,
said-
in this case, we don't have to weigh in on this one.
Well, you're actually supposed to make a recommendation on everything.
Right. We refer to sponsor.
And your recommendation to refer to sponsor is one you've...
Is a good recommendation.
I make a motion to refer to sponsor.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
I think we should, yeah.
Next.
Jerry, quick question. Years ago, when we approved this, it was because Milford didn't have limitations, but all the towns around us did.
Not really. There are some town, when the chief put this together, a number of communities were beginning to, it was only 2 years ago, a number of communities, not necessarily the surrounding communities, but a number of communities across the Commonwealth were enacting this kind of bylaw.
This does not put us at any disadvantage,
Oh, no.
like he talked about before, because all the communities.
Everybody's
have
now
to-
in the same position. We're subject to simply what's in the legislation, and that's it.
So
That's
we're
all.
equal with everybody else.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Article 16.
Yeah, 16, if you remember a few years ago, too, we enacted legislation with very comprehensive to take advantage of language that came through a federal case to further strengthen our efforts in the regulating adult entertainment. As you well know, through zoning, we did it. We prevailed in a case, down on East Main Street successfully under our zoning bylaw. But the opportunity that we saw with the Minden case, the original federal district court decision, was the ability to do what some thought we couldn't do, which was put language in here that say, if you're going to have adult entertainment, which our bylaw will allow in certain districts, and we can't prohibit it. So it is allowed in certain areas in town and may be proposed someday. We put the separate general bylaw together that would then forbid the service of alcoholic beverages at such an establishment, because under the findings that we made and that the chief made. More recently in that, as that Minden case wound its way through the Federal Appeals Court, the Federal Appeals Court actually then certified a question to the Supreme Judicial Court as to the validity under state law of that absolute ban on the service of alcohol and adult entertainment. And the Supreme Judicial Court just very recently came down with its decision on that, finding the Minden enactment not to be valid, but at least leaving the possibility of such a ban being valid if it's narrowly tailored, and that's the key. So what this does, it takes the language that we enacted 2 years ago and makes it more narrowly tailored, so that I believe now this will pass muster in the state courts, which is now what's important. So it's without getting into the detail, it's much more narrow than we had before, but it's directed strictly at that kind of activity that you can see is now, in that first paragraph, defined right out of a decision, or earlier decision of the U.S. Supreme Court, actions which appeal to the purity and interest in sex, portray sexual conduct, etc. That's really the key change in there. Putting that in there takes it out of the realm of where we're regulating something like if there's going to be production of hair, which is, the court used these examples, or of these other well-known, I don't know what the right word is, but sort of accepted activity that has nudity in it. We eliminated all that, so now it's just limited to that activity that appeals to the purity and interest and the rest of that definition. So that's all this does. It tries to keep this in place so that it can be that additional control that we have when and if a company comes in and proposes something in one of our areas where it's allowed.
Make a motion we refer to sponsor.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, Jerry.
All right.
All right, Article 16. I'm sorry, 18.
18. Yeah, and I think I can, we've had enough discussions of this in executive session, and I can probably do this in open session without getting into any great detail. This is continuation of our activities dealing with the water company and our efforts to find out if we can validly and effectively take it over. And as you all know, that ultimately will go to town meeting when we arrive at a price, which will be substantial, but the goal is that we arrive at a price that we can then fund the borrowing through the rates. That's what will make it work if we can do it. We've been working closely with a number of we have Brown and Rudnick working with us on this, a law firm in Boston. We've got a number of consultants, and we're now retaining some more consultants on other aspects of it. And we're negotiating with the water company. That continues on. The best result will be a negotiated amount that we can bring to town meeting. But even if we do that, we have to have a lot of detail, a lot of engineering information for town meeting to make sure they're comfortable and make sure that we're all comfortable. So this brings our total funding on the whole thing up to now to about, committed to about $200,000. In which is, it may be more than that if we end up in litigation, but hopefully if we can reach an agreement, this will do it. So again, we're continuing to negotiate. The water company recognizes its obligation to negotiate, so I think the discussions that are ongoing are in good faith. If we can reach an agreement and bring it to town meeting in the future, that'll be done. If not, we'll go off to the DPU and have the DPU set the price. Anyway, that the work that we're getting from these various engineering companies and appraisal firms is going to be important in either direction. So this will put us in good shape, at least over the course of the next year.
How much is this?
How much?
50, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you had that, 50,000.
This is, so, the total is 200,000
Well, that's what we,
inclusive of this 50?
with this appropriation, we'll have appropriated approximately 200,000 up to
Thank
now,
you.
yeah.
I move favorable.
Yes, sir.
Jerry, just to.
Nobody seconded
I'm
it.
sorry.
You need to have
Do I have a second?
You need to have a second.
Second.
Continue discussion.
Thank you. Jerry, quick question. This 50,000, how long does this buy us?
Well, again, if everything goes extremely well, this will be it. If we reach an agreement with the water company, that will, what we have already set aside, which is committed, this will take care of it. If it's going to end up being a matter that's going to be litigated, it may take more. But, you know, again, hopefully, this may do it.
But being like a layman, and I don't, does this buy us 6 months of work, a year? I
Oh,
don't.
no, this will take us well past into the annual town meeting. We'll know by the annual town meeting whether we've done it or not, or whether we're gonna have to continue on and fight and maybe spend some more.
Thank you.
Dr. Chaky.
Oh, yeah, I got one.
Jerry, you're talking, we're into this for $200,000, and the water company is negotiating with us. By law, they're required to negotiate with us.
Yeah.
Yes, right, because I read the paper too. So,
But they're negotiating in good faith, which is a good thing.
well,
Not all negotiations.
if they don't want to sell, then we're not going to come up with a number,
Well, if we don't reach an agreement, then we go to the DPU, and the DPU sets the price.
so.
We shouldn't be talking about
Okay, thank you, Jerry.
And we bring that price back to town meeting. That's the legislation that we put in place last year that
Right.
puts in that comfortable position for
Yeah.
us.
Jerry, at the end of the analysis, when we decide, we finally get a price and they decide to sell, we decide to buy, is part of the presentation, the town meeting gonna say what it's gonna cost us as a town to run it with, we'll have more town employees, that'll be part of the whole package? So that-
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That'll all be laid out, yeah. Oh, sure.
We have to be careful what we talk about here, okay?
This is,
In fact, new member, you have a couple new members, they didn't get a redacted copy of the report.
No, we
so
probably ought to get a couple.
We'll get them we have a comprehensive report from one engineer, which we gave to Finance Committee, a redacted version, because there's a lot of it that's very sensitive, but a lot of it will be helpful, so.
Thank you.
We can get you that.
We'll get 2 copies.
No,
Just a quick question, Jerry. That number that comes back from the DPU, is that binding on the water company, or can they litigate that?
Oh, well, you can always appeal to courts, but the practical effect, that's it. Yeah, that's gonna be
It
binding.
is.
It'll be binding on them and binding on us if town meeting accepts it.
I
but-
understand that.
But, yeah,
But they can't litigate that and take that through the courts and appeal?
again, you can always throw something into court, but this kind of really comprehensive and complex administrative proceedings, courts do not like to get into that. So in the DPU, after,
Last
extraordinary
question.
hearings, we'll.
Does
we'll
it
set
reach the level of Deflategate?
Nothing.
Were you gonna- were you gonna say-
It might, no, it won't reach that level.
Any,
Mr. Chairman.
sir?
So I just want to understand, Jerry, so is this, this $50,000, is it retainer money for the engineering? Is it specific work scope that they're continuing?
There's new aspects of it. We've got an engineer that's worked with the town for a number of years on all of our rate cases, very familiar with the system. He's got a certain level of expertise. We have a law firm that we're working with, but now we're bringing in an appraiser. It's important to have an appraiser. And then there's other detailed engineering, specialized detailed utility engineering work that we're hiring another firm to do.
Yeah, so you have a checklist of things that you're trying to make sure that we're covered, so when we go to to present our case, we've got it all covered. All right, well, we're down that, we've already gone through the toll booth and we're heading down the highway, so
Make a motion for a favorable recommendation.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Thank you. That's all you have from your perspective. I think, I don't know if, yeah, that's it for now. Where'd Rick go?
He's out in the hall.
Rick? He's on the phone?
He's out in the hall, you see him through the window.
I can see him, but I don't know. Want to finish some more of yours, please? Oh, yeah, you have plenty.
Come on down.
Albert, the heater controls for the police department was $100,000. That was on
Been on the plan.
on the capital plan. So I'll take a
Been on the plan
motion.
for years.
All right, that's Article 11. I'll take a motion.
Favorable.
Second?
100,000?
Yep.
Favorable.
Anybody second? Second. All in favor? Okay, so we covered that one. That's 11. 12 is the computers. I know that was on there as well.
Marked it, if I could.
Yeah.
Computers, this is the annual installment.
This is the last year of that installment.
No, I believe there's one more, if I remember right. I thought 17 was the last. I'm not sure, but I believe 17 was the last 25 grand. Okay.
Okay.
So we do have this one and one more on the plan.
Move favorable, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Any discussion?
Is it
25 grand?
25?
25.
25K, yeah. All in favor? Okay, so that's done. All right, the items that you have left, Rick, that we could talk about tonight. Assistant Director for this is Article 8. Oh, that's the youth center. I don't want to do that. Yeah, we could do the youth center. I guess we could start, yeah. Let's do the youth center. I'm sorry, Rick.
That's okay.
I thought it was something else. I am not happy with the way this is going tonight, I'll tell you. You guys have to excuse me, I really, it's just tight.
Pretty smooth? I thought it was going pretty smooth.
Hey, Brian.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Sydney? Jen? Article 8 is add to the 2016 budget the assistant director's salary, or take any other action. I just have a question why we're doing this in mid-year, as opposed to next budget cycle, which we talked about when we got into the place and dealt
Well,
with it.
as far as I know, and I know Zach was part of this, I mean, this was something that was discussed last spring in terms of the budget, and it was my understanding that everyone wanted to do it mid-year. I thought, personally, I thought it should have been something that should have been done for the FY16 budget, but for some reason, it was decided to do it this way, maybe because it's going to coincide with, getting into the new building and that sort of thing. But the idea is to get that position out of the revolving fund and into the town's operating budget.
Yeah, I thought we agreed to do that, but I thought we agreed to do that for next fiscal year. I thought we said we'd get into the new building and get at least 4, 5, 6 months worth of expenses and experience in the new building, and then get you a formalized budget. And I thought that was for 17.
That's correct, Mark. Mark,
That was my understanding.
you're correct. In fact, the way I remember it, it was supposed to be contingent with the opening of the new facility is when we were gonna take a look at it at that point in time. When
Well,
we actually.
we were gonna get some experience with
Yeah,
it.
so, and take it under, but I did remember we had agreed to some kind of mid-year evaluation of this.
That was on expenses.
Okay, I'm not, there was something, there.
It was what,
Looking
Albert?
at it.
Yeah.
That was on the operating expense, but when you have a chance, I have one question that's got me befuddled.
On this?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I don't know where
Do
you
we
are.
not have money to pay for the assistant director in the budget?
There is no budget. It
Well,
comes
it's
out of the
but they're
revolving.
revolving
It
account.
comes out of the revolving.
They
account.
don't have an official town
I
budget.
think how it works in terms of the expenses, if that position comes out of the revolving account, then they'll be able to use the revolving account to basically run a large part of the building and the programs. So that's why they wanted to get that position into the operating budget for FY '16, and then discussions, not all of which I was privy to, and I don't know, Sydney, maybe you guys can talk more. And I know when I talked to Zach about it, the idea was, okay, let's fund it as a separate town meeting article for half of the year. So that's why the article's forward.
I,
But I guess, Brian, here's my question.
Excuse me.
Discussions I didn't-
I don't, what I think is bothering me a little bit is that there is no actual youth center budget. And we purposely asked that, if you recall, at budget time in the spring, and we all agreed, I thought, at that point, because we were moving into a temporary facility, we would postpone an actual, real budget until 2017, and when we got some data. We all agree that we should have a budget for the youth center, and that the assistant director and director salary should be part of that budget. Utilities should be part of that budget. Expenses should be, some other expenses should be part of that budget. We want to continue, I believe, this committee wants to continue to further that organization, and I think we're all behind that. I just don't remember talking about it in mid-year. That's, I guess, the problem.
I don't know, I've deferred to Zach, because I mean, I talked to you a few times on it.
I was there during that meeting too. I mean, I spoke with Brian. We definitely said what it was supposed to be is, at the time, we would be in the building in October, and we would come back and revisit an article in October to fund the position. That is the extent of the conversation. I know that actually being in the building, not gonna be October now, however, that is what we talked about as far as bringing the position in. To actually apply a full budget, I think once the assistant director's position is funded through the general fund, to have anything further as far as expenses would be absolutely unnecessary, because now they'll have a revolving fund that can completely handle anything further, such as programs, and especially with hiring the proper temporary help or part-time employees that they probably so desperately need, but I'll allow them to speak to that.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to ask a quick question, because this may help me out a lot. Because I don't really have an issue with this as much if the answer to this happens. If we get this and we put it in the general expenses, are you guys going to pass over your next article? Because basically you'd be picking up 35,000. Are you gonna pass over, asking for another 30 right after that?
Talking about the next article, the moving and the rent?
Yeah, because now you'll be gaining 30, so now we're talking 65,000. So that's why I just wanna see, if you get the 35 to come out of the general expense for your salary, are you still gonna ask for another 30 after that? Or is your 35 that's now gonna be picked up by the town? As what I was seeing from Zach, I'm sorry if I misunderstood, that you guys would now have flexibility now that your salary is being funded by the town. You'd be picking up 35,000.
Wait, you wouldn't be picking up the full 35 because you're in mid-year.
Well, that's the remainder. Isn't that the remainder?
That is the remainder.
Oh, that is the remainder? Okay. Oh,
So that's why I mean, you'd be picking up 35,000, so would you still be looking for another 30 on top of that in the next article? Or if this passes, you're gonna say, forget it, we got our money, we're gonna pass over this?
Because
I'm
you're
just
taking it
curious.
out of the revolving
You know what I mean,
account.
because you're taking it
Yeah.
out of the revolving account, and I'm just curious
Well,
what your
that-
thought process is.
Well, the next article, as I understand, is to cover rent for the 4 months that the project is now extended. But then also, I guess, some moving expenses, because the last time, when they moved, and everyone found out that, Sydney and Jen basically did the moving themselves.
Wasn't
With
acceptable.
volunteers, and actually, not that anything bad happened, but they did some damage to the building, and now you're going back into a new building. Everyone came forward and said, don't do this again, come forward for some moving money. So I don't know that they have that in their budget to do the moving, but.
Well, but Chris's point is, if we take the 35,000 out of the don't expend it in the revolving account.
You'd actually have it.
You'd have the 35,000. You'd be able to use the revolving account.
For the move.
For the move and for the rent. But the rent, I believe, came out of Rick's budget, because the rent was in Rick's budget to begin with. And we moved that money yes, it was.
The utilities.
You moved the utilities.
Utilities, I'm sorry, not the rent.
You didn't move the rent.
That's right, we didn't move the rent. So you have the money in the revolving account if Jen's salary went into the general fund.
You understand what we're saying? If you guys didn't have to pick that up anymore, it's like you found 35,000
Right.
that you guys could use for your expenses.
And to argue what you guys were talking about before, when we take the burden of my salary outside of the revolving, we're looking at that for 4 to 6 different part-time staff, so it just offsets, it's basically the same cost, but taking the burden of my salary outside.
We need to get rid of this revolving.
Wait a minute. Yeah, 30,000 is what you're asking.
For their expense,
The
those two
remaining
different articles.
of my salary
Okay, but
for this
let-
fiscal
so we
year.
don't get confused, because I'm a little slow. Your salary, you're asking 30,000. Is that for a year?
35,000.
35.
For the rest of the fiscal year.
For the
So
remainder,
this position then, because if we put it in now, we're gonna obviously be asked to renew it. This is like a $50,000-$60,000 position? 48,000. So realistically, you're asking for a $48,000 increase in the bulk salaries. Because you're saying you're immediately gonna spend that on more employees.
With the
right?
revolving account, that would take the burden.
But Jen, whichever way you do it, today you have $48,000 somewhere that you're covering. If we kick that in, you're not reducing anything, you're hiring more people for the 48 plus benefits for you. So it's probably like 60-something.
60 plus.
Okay, I just wanna understand where this is at. It's not, we're covering her salary, because immediately, you're covering it anyway. It's in Mark, when you say budget, I mean, the youth center has a budget. Their board has numbers. We went through that years ago.
No,
They have their, well, Mark,
We're getting confused here.
they don't have a budget.
they have what they believe are targets or something.
What they have, the only budget, the only actual budget was the utilities in Rick's general
No, Mark,
budget.
I'm not saying a town budget. They
Oh,
have,
they have a budget based on.
they
yes, yes,
have a
yes, yes,
youth
yes.
center budget,
Correct.
because they're managing
I
it,
apologize, you're right.
and they're making money.
Right.
So they do, I don't want anybody thinking that you guys are out there willy-nilly just spending. You
No, no, no.
have a budget.
Yep.
Not a town budget. So what we're saying is, we're gonna increase your ability to spend by $60,000 with this article.
48.
Well, 48 this year, but in 6 months, they're gonna come back. It's not like,
No, not really. The town's gonna incur an additional, gonna incur the salary line of 48,
Yeah.
plus the benefit
Yeah, so
line
it's
of
about
12.
60.
It's gonna be
Right.
60,000. Their revolving account's gonna be impacted by 48,000.
Right.
They're gonna spend 48,000 less out of their revolving account.
Absolutely.
but then, no, they're not, because they're gonna hire new people, Jerry, is what she's
Will
saying.
allow us to have staff
And-
at
and
a
again,
ratio
Which is
of-
why-
That's the whole thing. We need to look
All
at
right,
this whole thing.
This is why I think we need to look at a general fund
Comprehensive
budget for the youth center. And come up with a way to maybe deal with this revolving account in a different perspective. Okay, I think that, salaries, expenses, utilities ought to be put in line items or budget numbers for the youth center, and we could deal with this revolving account separately. And so we have accountability. Right now, the only accountability we have is what we've done over the last couple of years, and they've managed it very well, but it's still sort of willy-nilly, you know? The youth center has a budget, and they have objectives and goals, I agree. I just think that if they're gonna hire some more people, then we need to understand why they're doing it, what they're doing with it, and have these people on as town employees, as opposed to run out of a revolving account. Just doesn't make any sense.
Shouldn't,
It's confusing, I think. Don't you agree?
Well, yeah, and I mean, you know, I know Mike's here from the Youth Commission, and this is really a little bit beyond my scope of the things. I'm not real sure how their budget operates in terms of, you know, operating, and we're going into new territory too.
Right.
You know, they're getting into new buildings, so they're trying, I think, put their, you know, set staff in place, and then use the revolving account to have their programs.
And
Basic
pretty
is-
much that's what they should be doing. Yes, sir.
A question, you indicated that if we free up approximately 30,000 or 35,000, you were gonna hire new people, or additional people, excuse me. What duties and responsibilities will these new people perform that are not being performed now? And how many people are we talking, and how many hours a week would these people work?
We're looking at 15 hours for employees, and basically that's just going to be covering the ratio of kids per staff. We haven't really covered that in the past, and I think that going forward, I think safety's a big issue for the kids.
I'm sorry, I think I have the floor. So you're gonna hire 4 people to do supervision type work?
So but basically what we're looking at is 8 staff, including Jen and myself. Based on 80 kids.
Okay, and are you, once you move to the new center, does that pool of 80 kids increase?
That's the average that we used to see at the other building, and we're looking at that number for now to see if it changes.
Do you handle that number of students, kids, at the present day today?
But not in the location that we're in.
Because you can't handle it.
Can't handle it.
So why would you hire people if you're going to stay at the same location for another 6 months?
We're looking for the March date.
Yeah, we're looking to be ready to come into the new building.
Well, if March is the tentative date, and I guess we have another article in here to look for some additional money for increases in the scope of work at the Armory, I think we should hold off. And if we do in fact need money at some point because you're overburdened, we always have a transfer fund that's available to do that. But to me, I would vote to hold off, given the fact that they can't accommodate that number of individuals at this point. Why hire the people?
Mark?
Yes, sir.
I haven't heard, has this number or this position been before the Personnel Board and gotten the sanction of the Personnel Board?
Which
Assistant
one?
Director?
The assistant director?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, a long time ago.
And the number of the 48,000 is?
58. Yeah. That's an approved position. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the problem is that, as I said, the only account or the only funds that come out of the general fund for the youth center is Sydney's salary. So there's no real budget.
We need to formalize the budget for this,
That's
just
what
like
I've been
any
saying.
other department in town.
We need a budget, and I think we need a budget
Now,
in
it
a
needs
way
to
to
be
deal
done-
with. We need a budget, in my opinion. We need to understand how to deal with the total commitment that we're gonna have to that building and that organization, and then figure out a way to deal with this revolving account so it only covers programs if necessary. If not, we need, and come up with a plan, a P&L on how they're gonna improve what they're doing and get more kids in that building. I mean, we just spent $5 million on this building for 80 kids. We need to have 300 kids in that building.
We're talking 80 kids for the after-school program. Total of the kids that are using that facilities, it's in 800s plus.
Not per week, per month, per year, per. See, the problem is I think, we could talk about this at another time. Let's discuss the 35,000 for Jen's salary at this point in time.
Mark, the numbers don't, you're saying this is for April, May, June,
No.
right? Because you're not gonna hire the kids, the extra, see, we're saying Jen's salary. Jen's salary is covered. This is for 4 new people.
Right.
No, Jen's salary is
No,
not.
I understand, but the reason we're covering Jen's salary is so they can hire 4 new people.
Right.
And if they're not gonna hire them until they go into the armory, then it's for 3 to 4 months. If we need 35 grand for 3 to 4 months, this makes it a $90,000 to $120,000 increase.
There's all kinds of concerns
I mean,
Procedural,
it seems like we're trying to deal with
definition.
too many things
Where's the youth
in
commission?
15 minutes.
That's why I said, we need to discuss a budget for this organization.
We need to have a budget from the Youth Commission presented to this board.
Not arguing. And I
Yeah,
thought we would
that's where
do
it
that.
starts and ends.
I thought we would do that.
That's correct.
When we got data on the new building and what we were going to deal with in the new building and how it's gonna operate. And deal with it for the 17 budget.
The minute you put this money in there, you're locking in
No argument.
4 new people.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
next year, they'll barely be there, you're not gonna not fund them.
We need a budget.
So when I look at 30 grand or 35 that we're adding to their expenses for 3 to 4 months, I multiply times 3 or 4, it becomes a much bigger number that we gotta deal with.
And if you factor in that March date is not a firm date.
Right.
At least not in my
It
mind.
slipped to June 1 very
Mr.
quickly.
Chairman, we're
Yes.
committed to the youth center. I think
Yeah,
all of
correct.
us have
No
said that.
question, no
But this
question.
is this procedurally, this article is not how we typically deal with articles in the fall. And that we need a real budget to be presented and added probably in the spring. So I would move to vote unfavorable for this article.
Or ask them to pass it over.
Or ask them to pass it over.
Please don't vote unfavorable. I mean, I
Yeah.
think we gotta give them.
Well, give them an opportunity to bring it back and
We
take a look at it.
we prefer to pass over that before you get, I mean, I think you're definitely on the right track, and what you're gonna have really, I think, is a baseline of the last quarter of the fiscal year
Right.
to get an idea, and that'll dovetail nicely as you start working together for the FY17 budget.
Exactly.
I just don't wanna rush it, but I don't wanna go negative.
Bill, you had a question?
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman, because this is going several meetings, and some of it's carryover. What I'd like to say is that maybe we should just recap this, because this is what I hear from this is an agreement in principle to cover the salaries, not only for the assistant director, but the staff employees, which would be kind of like seasonal in other departments, but, you know, the part-timers. And that we just need to formalize the budget process, and then we actually, this group, in principle, wants to go further than that and stabilize this youth center and its staff. We've got the utilities, we've got some of the other things. I just want to make sure when we leave here that there's understanding of what there's an agreement and a principle and how we want to go forward.
And that's,
Budget prepared.
and that's absolutely correct. And what we would like to see presented to us is what they think it ought to be. How
Yeah,
many
and
people
whoever
they
you
want to
have-
hire, I mean, and with justifications for all of it, as we would do with any other department.
But whoever you have in your subcommittee would go work that
Yeah.
in preparation, okay?
Yep, absolutely.
The youth commission needs to work.
So here we are with two articles, and so the question is, Article 8 is,
This is just salary.
is salary article.
Don't mix the two, because
I'm fine with
gotta
that.
give them a legitimate.
I'm fine with that. Article 8 is the salary. The recommendation is that you pass over this article.
We can only recommend that.
That's
No,
our
we're
recommendation. They
asking
have to
them,
decide if
will
they
they
want to
pass
pass
it
it
over?
over or not.
Oh, yeah, I would recommend that they pass over it, absolutely. It's an operational item, it's all it is.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so you'll pass over Article 8. Okay, thank you.
Mark?
Yeah.
From a procedural standpoint, wouldn't it be more appropriate for the youth commission, the youth commission to present this budget?
Yes, in the
Isn't that-
spring.
Isn't that our expectation?
Yes.
Because I don't see, I think you're at a little bit of a disadvantage right now.
No, absolutely, in the spring. That's,
And that, so
the
I don't
whole
wanna.
organization needs to
and
present a budget.
I just,
Yeah, no question. All right. Now, Article 9 is 30K, and it says,
to pass over it.
no, that's our,
No, no.
oh, we have to vote to, no, we don't have to vote to pass
No.
over Article.
Just
Not at all.
recommend. No, we don't vote.
that's what I was
No.
getting
Hey,
at.
we
Not our-
listen to the chairman. He said he's gonna pass it over.
Pass it over.
We pass it over. We don't have to vote.
We don't have to vote on it.
Strongly recommending to them to pass over.
Good recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
I
now,
don't need you to
Now,
write it.
Article,
Hopefully they're not like my
gentlemen,
kids and they'll listen to me.
let's move on. Article 9. Article 9, youth center pay for expenses, temporary location, and cost of movement back to the renovated former Milford Armory. This is rent you're talking about, or utilities, or both?
or moving expenses.
And moving expenses. No,
It's
it's,
$3,000.
and moving expenses. The moving is 3K.
Yes.
So what's the 27 for?
They had a, well, you've got the spreadsheet, they had
Yeah,
a
it's a-
storage facility,
5
a lot
months
of this
rent,
stuff.
utilities, oil refills and storage, and expenses.
A little bit louder, Jen, I didn't hear you, sorry.
5 months rent, utilities, 4 oil refills, storage expenses, moving expenses, and what was spent already from FY16.
What's the
All right, so-
breakdown of
So
that?
part of it's utilities.
How much is utilities, please?
Which is in
That's what I
Rick's
heard.
budget, which we transferred the last time.
For the last fiscal year.
Yeah. Oil and electricity is in your budget, or should be in your budget.
That's oil and water. So what's the utilities then?
Get to
Let's
know.
let the information come up.
Oil and
Go ahead, Jen.
Tell us.
So for for oil, it breaks down to $2,000 for the expense for this coming winter. Storage is $625 per month. We've spent about $200 with Verizon every month, and then, $1,800 a month for rent. And then we're doing estimated costs for what we normally spend. And then for National Grid is another about $150 a month.
Mr. Chairman?
Wait, I just gotta run through the numbers.
We have this.
The 1,800 a month, I
Should this
thought we
be
were
coming
getting
out
a
of the
rebate
revolving?
back from the owners of the building for
They're trying to
1,200.
replenish the
So it was
volume.
like
Yeah, that's
actually
what-
600 a month, right? Net. Weren't the owners of the building giving us money back as a donation? or-
No, the original rent was 2,500, they gave us a discounted rent for 1,500 a month.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
I seem to remember something totally different, but okay.
Yeah.
Chairman.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I mean, we have the lease, it is what it is.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're talking about, the utilities are in Rick's budget. And last year, I recall, we had an article to move the money from Rick's budget to the youth center, or pay for the youth center. So that we should be doing that again for the next 4 months' worth of utilities. Is that still in your budget? Or did we take it out of his budget? Go ahead, Zach.
In the last budget cycle, put that back in, that was straight up a mistake, I'll take responsibility for it. It did not make.
Who's got the gun?
Now that makes more sense.
All right,
Now we
so
understand.
now you're right. Now we have to cover the utility costs and et cetera.
Because we pulled it out of 192. and
Right.
That ended up being our starting point for the next budget cycle.
So we didn't put it back.
We need to
Okay.
normalize this budget.
1,800.
2,000 for oil and 150 a month for
Can we do an
Right, and-
intermediate budget on this?
I'm confused now.
Right, okay, well, there's rent to utilities.
Okay.
Interim budget.
Oil and electricity.
All right, and 3,000 for moving the facility back in with the professional moving.
Is 30,000 gonna be enough?
It's the numbers we got.
Okay, I'm doing quick math here, and, huh?
Nope.
No, last
Not
fiscal
a-
year for all of 15, we spent almost $40,000. So we spent 25 of the town allocation, and then the difference of the 15 was spent with either our 50K straight state grant or through our revolving account. So going into this fiscal year, we've already spent almost $8,000. Estimated cost for the next 5 months is about $17,000. And then you break down the moving cost for 2,000, you see a balance of $27,846. So it's rounded up to $30,000.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just a little confused, and, you know, I think, you know, don't take this wrong, but I think we all support the youth centers, so you should know that. But shouldn't some of these expenses, I understood the utilities piece, but shouldn't some of these expenses be coming out of the revolving account? I mean, well, shouldn't they continue to be coming out of the revolving account? I don't,
If we pay out of the revolving account, it's gonna deplete the revolving account. We don't have any rentals right now. There's no income coming in to support everything that.
yeah, you know, it's unfortunate, Sidney, I think, you know, we'd love to see, and I don't know who the subcommittee is or who's on it, but it'd be nice to see a P&L year-to-date in terms of where you're at, what revenue you generated, so we can make some decisions based on that. Yeah, that's, I'm hearing there's no revenue.
No, we're all, right there.
Yeah, they got 73,
I didn't.
Right there.
67,000.
They're doing really well. They're doing good.
You're doing great.
Okay, they're doing really well.
So why do we need?
So I'm very confused then. So,
The utilities were always, it's a town building. So the utility
I get the
money was
utilities piece, but the other expenses should be funded out of the revolving account.
I don't think they're moving expenses, should be.
I don't think so.
Not the move.
Yeah, but what else you got in
They
there?
moved it
But
themselves
all of-
last time.
all of
We got a
those-
deal last time.
All of
We shouldn't
those,
be burdened with that again.
all of those expenses they're incurring were because they moved out of that building. Not because, which is the only reason they're getting
Alright.
storage expenses and moving expenses, et cetera.
I got the sense some of it was operational, and that's what I was trying to distinguish.
Well, it's operational in that building.
Well, it's operational from the move, but operational from an ongoing expense point of view. And you're saying it's not. It's all related to the move, other than the utilities.
That's correct.
I was totally against this because we had it in Rick's budget.
Well, we
But
didn't
now
put it
we
in,
find
so.
out, because it seemed like we're double
Okay.
hitting it. If we have nothing in his, then I'd be really comfortable
Did you bring
putting
your
money.
soapbox today?
No. But put it in and have them line item take it out, so it's only used for the items they're asking. That'd be easy.
A suggestion to you folks when you come here next time.
Yeah, this thing,
take the numbers, put them on a sheet of paper, copy them, get them to us, so we can look at each individual item. You're spouting numbers that really don't go anywhere, because by the time I get 3,000 written, you've already spoken about 2,200 or whatever. So you need to come in and present something that we can respond to, some sort of a cash flow situation, so we're not gonna be going back and forth. He owns that, you own this, we own that. It doesn't really, we spent 5 times as much time on something that should have taken 5 minutes.
I make a motion for a favorable recommendation.
I'll second.
For what?
What's the number?
On Article 9. Second anyway? Second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
I'll go
Opposed?
with it.
One opposed.
I don't know
Now
what I'm
tell me
voting
how
for.
much money it is.
30,000.
Don't
These
know
are
what
not
the heck I'm voting.
fireworks, Al.
It's 35,000, isn't it?
35,000 was the
I
salary. That
still
was the
wanna
one
see
that-
all the numbers.
I agree with you.
Yes, we
We will see the numbers.
Mr. Chairman, if we had our tablets with spreadsheets on it.
Absolutely right. That's Article 32.
There you go, Mikey.
Do you agree on 30,000, so to eliminate the
30K is what's
confusion?
All right,
And
let's
to
move on.
Aldo's point, it's an excellent point. It had been given to the finance director, and the thought was it was gonna get passed on, but
That's two things.
no, but I mean, it's not his fault, it's just.
There's a name for that list.
We
Things just fly around, you know, so.
We got it. All right. The last item is
19.
Oh, yeah.
Article 19.
Okay. Yeah, since I was before you last, actually, I think I was before you on September 9th, and then on September 16th, we got the updated schedule from the contractor. The contract was supposed to end mid-October, say October 15th. The projected end now is February 12th. So November, December, January, February, we're looking 4 more months. So what we need is 4 more months of the architect and 4 more months of the resident architect, which is what you might call the clerk of the works. Now, in addition to what we're putting forth for your board's consideration, hopefully town meeting's consideration, I did mention to you as we've gotten into this project, the paving is only going to be partially complete. So we're going to have patchwork paving over there. So I'm waiting for a bid. I'm waiting for a estimate right now as to what it would be to pave the entire lot. In addition, we have used contingency money to finish just about all of the first and second floor, except for 3 rooms on the second floor. So I'm getting a number to see what it would be to finish those 3 rooms, not the basement, just the 3 rooms. And, you know, it doesn't have to be done, but to be honest with you, the number I think is gonna be so reasonable, it really makes a lot of sense to consider it. Now, the youth center folks have gone out and solicited with Lowe's to get a donation of cabinetry to put in a small, almost a residential type kitchen. That's gonna be donated, but it does need to have a range hood. And then we're also working to see what the level of technology is in there in terms of wiring. So what I have right now, and I don't have a complete number for you, but I can tell you what I do have. For the additional architectural, that would be another $49,000. For the additional resident architect, that would be $21,000. I don't have a number for the paving yet. We're anticipating that hopefully tomorrow. To frame, drywall, and paint 3 additional rooms, that would be $19,000. We're just waiting for a small part in terms of electrical. The kitchen hood would be $9,000. And if I don't have a number for the telecommunication hardware. We've had Mr. Diorio go through the building along with Sydney to try to get an idea as to, you know, what might be put in there. World Band is gonna take a look at it tomorrow Basically, what we have is, we have a conduit to the street, to the mechanical room, and then conduit pretty much to all of the rooms that stops at the ceiling area, but no wiring. And we're gonna try to figure out if that's something, that can always be put in, but if it's something that should be done now, that's what we're looking to do. So with a 20% contingency, the number that I have right now, oh, and I'm sorry, the last item that I forgot to mention, and again, that was raised by this board the last time I was here, was a generator. So we looked into a generator. What we have in the project is an outside plug for a 60 kilowatt generator that would run the heat and the sump pumps in the time of an emergency. There was also the suggestion to look at the Woodland generator and also to look at the Middle School East generator. The Middle School East generator is gas-fired. It's over 50 years old. Our engineer says that the EPA guidelines changed 5 years ago, and the emissions, it wouldn't, meet the new emissions. And if we were gonna put anything interior into the building, we'd have to have a chimney system, we're gonna have to cut into the stone and the roof, and the cost would be quite high. We're thinking just a regular 60-watt generator that could probably be stored at the site. If the situation ever arose, it can be put into the plug that's out there. That the thought is that generator might be around $20,000. So the number that I have here, I mean, I don't know, because we haven't really priced it out, that's just what was estimated to me. So the number that I have right here for you now is about $143,000. Now, not all of these are necessary to get the project done, and not all of these are within the scope of the original project. We're stepping out a little bit in terms of the paving, the additional drywall, the telecommunications. But to be honest with you, the way this place is ripped apart right now, we really should strongly consider doing it. I don't know if we're gonna be able to finish 3 rooms for about $20,000. So that's kind of what we have.
So, let me ask a question. The original contract called for completion in October. Or was
Yeah,
it?
roughly mid-October.
Okay, so somebody's late. Things happen, and so everybody's late. Were there any penalties, late clauses put into the contract?
There are, but nobody feels that they're justified, because all of the delay is justified with the level of change order work that we got. For example, just on the turrets alone, by the time the problem was uncovered, by the time the subcontractor, the general contractor, the engineer, the owner, all got together to try to rework the plans, a solution, and then get back on track. I mean, that's all legitimate delay that the contractor is entitled to. So that's the way it was. I mean, we encountered a tremendous amount of ledge underneath the floor to the tune of about $40,000. That stretched out the amount of time that could go forward. So there's no real illegitimate, I guess, if you will, delay in the project. It's all been caused by these unknown site conditions.
Yeah, I'm still thinking. I try to understand. I mean, I did go through the building, Brian, and I saw all the stuff. The question I have is, the outside work, or the lack of the outside work, or the delay in the outside work shouldn't have delayed the inside work. A. B, I don't know why we wouldn't have, in the original project, wired the building for technology as part of the original project.
Well,
in this day and age.
Well, what is put in, and we're still, trying to get to the exact, scope of what's been done, but the conduit is all there with the pull wires, with the pull strings.
Right.
That's what they are.
And I agree about the generator. Generator, I think we all said last time that we can't leave that building with sump pumps not running, okay? God forbid we lose power in that building and it will flood the building. So, yes, we need a generator, you need a transfer switch, you need to put in the whole, my opinion, the whole 9 yards in order to run a backup generator for that building, not one that you keep inside, and if the power goes off, Sydney runs down there and brings it outside and I don't think that's the right answer. 20K is probably the right number to do an outside generator.
If it's in the middle of a snowstorm, where are you gonna put it?
Well, it
You
shouldn't.
have to have some,
Yeah.
you have to have
It needs to be-
something
it
that can
needs to
be
be a
protected
permanent-
from the weather.
Permanent oil fired like we have up at the high school. I mean, it doesn't need to run the whole building, it just needs to run the sump pump.
I mean,
Basically, in my opinion.
If the electricity goes out at 1 o'clock in the morning, by the time you get somebody there.
You want an automatic
too late.
transfer
That's it,
switch.
that's it.
So we definitely, I think, we definitely need to spend money and
Do it
put in a
right.
backup generator that's permanent, that's outside, that runs off of oil like we have at the high school, with a transfer switch for that particular, those particular pumps. I don't know that you need to run heat or anything else, but
I don't know what the cost of that would be, you know.
it's in the 20, I would say in the 20, 30,000 range. I don't remember what the high school one cost us. It was about 100 and something, and it runs the whole building.
No, that was a little bit more than 100.
Oh, yeah.
What was
Yeah,
it, 200?
how about 300? No, it was closer to 300 to 400, yeah.
But it runs the whole building.
I understand that, it's 600,000, 600
Runs the whole
KW.
building. We're talking about 3 pumps.
You're talking about 60 KW here versus 600 KW.
Yeah, we're talking about 3 pumps.
And it's gonna cost you more than $20,000.
Even if it costs us 40, it doesn't
It's gonna
matter. I
cost you
think.
between 40
I
and
think
50.
Fine. I think the money is well
I
spent.
can get estimates from the architect on that, but it's still, it's not only just the generator, it's infrastructure to surround the generator.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Wiring,
Right,
permanent
wiring,
wiring.
transfer switch, the whole thing.
You're talking about an annual transfer switch, right?
No.
Oh, you gotta have an automatic transfer switch.
Gotta have an automatic transfer.
2 o'clock in the morning, something happens.
be
By the
automatic.
time you get there, the building's washing down North Bow Street.
No, it doesn't.
Wait,
Now, where do we stand on our capital budget with this in there?
Oh, we have money in capital.
no. You can't,
That's not the point. The point here is,
can't be in the capital budget.
the point here is that, I think this committee believes needs to be done, and we're spending all that money to fix up a building, and we don't need it flooded in, because the power went out. I think that's silly.
Mark?
Yeah.
The state was giving you a $50,000 grant, is that correct?
Yes.
Have you received it yet?
Well, the one last year was received, some of it went towards their operation, and some of it went towards putting together some things for the project.
Okay, is there another 50,000
There's another
coming?
50,000 coming.
And where is that gonna be allocated to?
That's gonna be allocated to the project, which will go to the contingency, because if, the last time, the contingency's down to about 30,000.
Yeah.
So if we get that 50,000, that'll keep the contingency back up to about 80,000. Because as we're putting in the storm drains around the building, we're running into a tremendous amount of ledge, and I don't know if you've been over there, but there's all of this rock that's gotta be removed. So, you know, Jack, it's like, you can't turn up anything without, it's unbelievable.
Tell me about
You
it.
have,
Even the threshold is a change order. I mean, I could go on, and it's, you know, but anyways.
Do you have a list of to-dos for the contingency fund?
Jeff has a full item of all the change orders that were done.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, full itemization.
But you figure about, how soon do you figure on the 50,000? I think that's the question.
Oh, I have no.
About.
We didn't get it till the end of the last fiscal year for that grant, like, we got it very late, we had to request it
Yeah, about what month did you get it?
probably.
So you don't, that's not coming for what?
Yeah,
That's
okay.
only 50 grand, Aldo's right.
But, you know,
Yeah.
it's nice, but.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. The committee and the youth center has done a fantastic job vetting out everything that was spent on the contingency. A lot of this money is gonna help some of the stuff that would've come out of the contingency fund, because, you know, the architects and whoever's running the project there, they really negotiate down all these things for the change orders, like, no, there's 50,000, no, we're not paying you that much money. They really do a great job negotiating that money down. The contingency has taken a big hit because the floor, I mean, I know you saw it, there's no bracing in it. You know, there's no way, until they ripped up the floor, there's no way they would know that came out of contingency. So that money went away, you know, so that money, you know, that could have been put towards the paving. You know, we made the point, the paving, I said, it doesn't make any sense not to pave the whole thing. Well, we have a water problem now. We're gonna piecemeal paving and then have water go into the whole thing needs to be paved. Like you said, we're spending $5 million and to have the piecemeal, you know, 30,000 for paving, it's crazy. So this money is well spent, I think, and I think everybody's in agreement that this needs to be, to finish this project off. I don't know the level of technology that, like Brian said, for what we need for WorldNet, for the telecom, but these articles they're asking for, I think, are well justified. All the change orders are well vetted out with the contract and with the architect. I don't know the answer to your question about the delay, but it is true that there was a lot, like just the turrets alone, when they started pulling the turrets down and all the stuff behind it was all gone. It's certainly unforeseen.
Oh, Michael, you had something to say?
Just a question about the delays, just 1 second. We had to stop any of the work being done on the inside until we finished some of the work that was being done on the outside, like sealing the granite, putting on the new roofs, putting in the new windows. So now that the outside of the building, so that was the first phase of it. So now the outside of the building is sealed, you'll watch the inside of the building starting to come together. So there was a delay on the inside because of what we found on the outside.
It was just a question I had.
Yeah, I understand.
I make a motion, we move this favorable.
Well,
Do
we
you
don't
know
know
what the
how much
amount
yet.
is? What's the amount?
Talking one
So I
forty-three.
gotta come back to you hopefully tomorrow. You guys gonna be here tomorrow night?
Yes. Right, 'cause you're gonna add
I
those up.
planned on coming tomorrow night also with some more numbers.
Well, we could do tomorrow night if you have them. If not, we have a meeting in October, second week in October, before town meeting. We can come up with the number then as well.
You want to table this, Mr. Chairman?
We can move favorable now
No.
and hold the funding until we get it.
Well, we don't know the number.
Well, we can wait then.
Just wait.
Why don't we just table the article?
Yeah, we'll work
Wait.
Well,
Wait, I'll come back and,
Will this be a last
gentlemen,
I like seeing you guys.
gentlemen and ladies, we can table the article, but we need to put a number on it by tomorrow. We need to put our report in to the town clerk by next Friday.
Well, we can table it till tomorrow night.
Yeah,
Brian,
I can
is
say we
somebody
can
okay
table it
with
till
some
tomorrow
number?
night and come back with a better
We should
number.
have some good numbers from World Band. Should
I
have
would,
the
I would
paving.
get a number two from one of the electricians about putting in a generator, backup generator with an automatic transfer.
Yeah,
switch.
yeah, please do that. The
Oil
generator, Aldo's right. I mean, I think the generator will be 40 to 50.
Yeah, I think it's in the 40-50 range. You're probably
Yeah.
right.
But
An
Brian,
automatic transfer switch, see, that's
Yeah.
my concern, when you're talking 20, every time we've put it, you were there, it cost us 12 grand
I
to put
think
the
you have
automatic.
it needs to be a
just for that.
standalone
But,
unit
yes,
outside
but
with
they're
its
all
own
size
encasement.
dependent upon.
No,
All
no,
right,
Because
we
you can't
beat
do it
this to
any other-
death, team. We beat this to death. Let's table this for tonight, and, Brian, we'd appreciate you come back tomorrow night.
Absolutely, yeah.
By the way, I did,
You
I
don't want it
did,
to get buried.
excuse me, I did pass around your email to the team 2 weeks ago,
Yeah, good.
out offering to have people go visit the youth center.
He wants to come in.
The only one that responded basically was Albert, and he said Friday mornings at 8 o'clock. Nobody gets up at 8 o'clock on Friday morning, but.
You said 8 to whatever, I said, great, do it early.
No, if anybody wants to come in, now's a key time because the walls are open and you can really, I mean, Mark saw it. I mean, you can really get a sense as to the kind of
It's worth going
replacement
over
work
to take
that
a
was
look.
done there. So if anybody wants to do it, you can coordinate it through me or Bonnie or whatever. Jack is the foreman, he's very accommodating, he'll take you through, he'll show you everything. Yeah.
All right, team. Thank you, Brian. Thanks, Sydney. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah, I'll, you know.
That kind of
Mark.
stuff will bite you.
Question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that we'd have to have our report into the town clerk by such and such a date.
Next Friday. And for her to incorporate it into her mailing
Sure,
with the warrant.
Which we want to do, strive to.
Right. If we don't, we don't.
Are we required by law or statute to make a recommendation on every single one? For example, let's suppose they aren't able to collect this data by tomorrow.
We could put TBD.
Okay, because I would like to see all of the costs identified.
I agree. We could put TBD. I don't have a problem doing that. We can report at town meeting.
Yeah.
We've done that
We can put
before.
something on it.
We've done that before.
We've done that before.
Back before the town meeting.
I mean, you're talking, you're probably talking another $250,000 here before you.
And that's why, to be honest with you, I
think
mean,
that's probably right.
I'm having serious reservations just be on some of these items, because to be honest with you, at some point, I mean, we're at $5.25 million on the project. It's,
We gotta
at some,
put, you know,
at some point, you know,
gotta say enough's enough.
Yeah, $9,000 for a fan.
yeah, there's no question, on a residential kitchen.
Yeah, residential
Right.
kitchen.
That was my point, so, okay. I think at this point, team, we'll take a motion to adjourn till tomorrow night.
So moved. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
New business, old business?
Oh, yeah, we could do new business, all business.
Do you, do you at any point, or have you decided at what point we, or the budget committee, or the executive committee will sit down to discuss how we think free cash should be handled?
We will talk about that tomorrow night. We're having a financial team meeting tomorrow afternoon with the finance director, Paul, myself, and Rick, and Chris. We'll go over all of these numbers and come up with a recommendation at that point in time.
Thank you.
Including stabilization, including free cash, including tax relief. Okay?
I have something earlier. Will that be at the end of the night? In terms of stabilization?
We can move it to the last item, or next to the last item. Absolutely. Any other old or new business?
Is the personnel board coming on? these
Yes,
items?
personnel board, I did ask them, I have not heard back, but I did ask them to come. I also put out a memo or an email a couple of weeks ago about this year's Association of Town Finance Committee meeting. It's in Sturbridge. It's October 17th, it's on a Saturday. My recommendation is that the new members try and make time to go out there. If you can, you need to let Diana know so she can register you guys. Can't go. Mike, can you go?
I gotta check my schedule.
All right. If not, it comes up every year. It comes up every year, so.
Mark, when does she need to know by? Give you a date or?
Anytime.
The
Doesn't
sooner
matter.
the better, okay.
All right, now I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Discussion? Second, done? All in favor? Thank you.